Okay, the Globe Theater. So first, your student outcomes. 1. Know where the globe is located. 2. Know when it was built. 3. Know or figure out how the globe brought different people together. Number 4. Find out when the globe was closed due to plague outbreaks. And 5. What ultimately happened to the Globe Theater? So here we go. You see, this is a picture of the globe recreated. This is not the original, but it's created as if it were. Not far from the original site, just about a couple hundred yards away. In 2007, I was lucky enough to actually attend a play there with Mrs. Gallagher, where we saw Othello. It's a very unique place, so I've got a lot of pictures that I took for you to see. First, the globe is located in London, almost central London. This is considered the city of London, and for those of you who don't understand big cities, different parts of cities have different names. Like Boston has Back Bay, the North End, and London does the same thing. They have Southwark, they have City of London, they have Greenwich, so there are different pieces to it. And so this is the Globe Theatre, and it's just on the River Thames, just across from the original City of London. Remember, the original City of London was only about this big, and it's really gotten big since then. So that's where it's located. And remember that the Thames was the highway of the day, so you had to use it to get to places. There was only one bridge, and this was it. Okay, the Tower Bridge, or London Bridge, as people want to call it. Okay, so this is what the globe looks like, and you can see that the recreated has a thatched roof. It used to be the tallest building of the day. The original globe was the tallest building in London, and you can see just from the background that that's obviously no longer the case. This is another theater that was built later on. And the original globe was built in 1598, and it opened in 1599, so there's a bit of carryover. The only way people would get to the globe, mostly, it was by water. They took water taxis. There was only one bridge, and it wasn't a very big bridge, and it made people nervous. And so the globe was situated on the south side of London. One of the reasons why was because, as this was not London at the time, it was beyond the laws of London City. So they could do whatever they want, because theaters were actually illegal in the city of London back then. They were not in this area in Southwark. Okay, you can see that it's open-aired, so when it rained, you had performances, and that's the way it worked. You can see that there were different levels, and of course the new version has electricity, the old one didn't. There was torches, obviously very dangerous, and we'll talk more about the fire dangers later. So this was an interesting mix of a place to be, because this is where you get the mingling of classes, the poor, the emerging middle class, and the nobility. Many people attended the theater. It was a big thing to do, just like it is today, and they usually sat by their social rank and wealth. So if I flip back to this slide, you'll see the wealthy usually sat up here. Why? Well, because they were more expensive seats, obviously, so they could afford it, and because you have to remember that society said if you got sun, you were probably poor. It was socially unattractive, and so they wanted to get as much shade as they could. And you'll see what the yard looked like in a minute. And so this would maybe be the lesser nobility, and this area would be the middle class. And so that's what it would look like. The groundlings, the people who sat in the poorest seats, had a big yard. It was dirt, easy, you could throw garbage on it. It wasn't a very pleasant place to be. And when I attended, I actually had to stand. You weren't allowed to sit, which really made for a long day, because that play was 3 hours long. And as I said, the different levels cost different amounts of money. The groundlings played half a pence, which was pretty cheap even back then. All right, so it's just some facts. First, the Globe Theatre was not owned solely by Shakespeare. It was owned by a stock company, or sharers, and it was paid for by Lord Chamberlain's men originally, which becomes the King's Men in 1603. The plays were performed in the warm months only, and It was also only performed during the day. They did not perform at night. So any plays that called for night scenes, you had to imagine. That's why Shakespeare had to use really creative language. Same with props. There weren't any creative backgrounds, so you had to use your imagination. So the Globe was closed twice for plague outbreaks in 1603 and 1608, and that was upon order of the government. In 1613, just as Shakespeare was retiring, it burned to the ground. It was rebuilt in 1614, but it burned to the ground because of an accident. They packed some gunpowder into a cannon to make an explosion, and the spark caught fire to that thatch roof, and it burned. In 1644, the government of England had changed. It was led by Puritans now, and you know a bit about them. They did not like the theater. They thought it was scandalous. They thought it was sinful. And so they ordered all theaters closed, including the Globe, and it was ultimately demolished in 1644. The Globe you saw pictures of was reopened in 1989 as a recreation. So there's some facts about that. There were other theaters in the area, the Swan, the Hope, and the Rose theaters. The Globe was solely the home to Lord Chamberlain's men, and later renamed the company to the King's Men. And the audiences were varied. They were there to enjoy the show. They were there to cheer for the bad guys, cheer for the good guys, root for the bad guys, throw rotten fruit at people, and they could get upwards of couple thousand people into these arenas. So it was quite the show to experience. Okay, great.